Check, mic check, 1, 2.
Yo, is this thing on or what?
What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the Platform Podcast. As always, I'm your host, Dex, and we are back with another brand new show. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure you hit that subscribe button, leave us a comment, let us know if you have any questions for the guest, let us know who you want to see in upcoming shows, and if you're listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, leave us that 5-star review. And go follow me at DJ Dex MKE on all socials. Today, we're sitting down with a Nashville resident, a guy that kind of does it all between balance and work life as a DJ and his full-time job, working for a brand new tequila company that's rising through the ranks of hot tequila. We're sitting down with Bill Carter, a.k.a. DJ 1L. Bill, how's it going, man?
Doing well. Glad we can finally get ourselves together.
Yes.
But one day I have off work, it's like, yes, we're doing this right now.
Yeah, you hit me up. You're like, hey, can you do Friday? Let's do it. So, and I'm glad that obviously we're going to get into it a lot here, but the branding of Komos Tequila, new branding of Superbird. I was like, I didn't want to.
Okay, I hit you with it like just with the backpack full of goodies today, so it wasn't prepped on the script.
Yeah, we're going to do some taste testing here too, which is awesome. So this one's going to be brought to us by Komos Tequila and Superbird. So so tell us a little bit about you. I mean, let the listeners know, the viewers, of kind of your background, being from here, and how you got into DJing.
Yeah, so it's been a very kind of as most, main careers, side careers, whatever you want to call it, go, kind of fell into it sort of piece. Music has always been a huge center of my life. I kind of preparing for this, like I saw this was a piece and it was like, where did music and the love for that actually started? And I was one that made the basketball warm-ups in high school on Windows Movie Maker. Like I couldn't afford to buy like an actual program, so just Windows Movie Maker and just export it as what we could do. I've always enjoyed music, always enjoyed kind of just the excitement and the energy of different genres and what it brings. And so I was in Los Angeles when COVID hit in the beginning of 2020 and had nothing to do, couldn't leave my place, couldn't really do much for work. So I went on Amazon and bought a DDJ 400, like the cheapest board you can buy. So I had that, decided that I wanted to go the record box route because I enjoyed EDM, and at about 5 p.m. every day would sit on my back patio and mix the same 20 songs that I could kind of figure out, and had fun, just kept doing it on the side. And then when I moved to Nashville, I think I was able to play then 40 songs. So I had in my head, I could play enough for, 30, 45 minutes. So I was playing outside, connected to a Bluetooth speaker at our pool. And a name which has come up on this podcast before, Aaron Traylor, lived in the same building as me, and was just hanging out there, and came up after me playing the same songs for 2 hours. And he was like, hey, you've got something. You sound like you're having fun. Have you ever thought about getting paid for this? And I was like, no, I can play these 40 songs. That's it. That's all I have. And he handed me a USB stick with 3,000 songs on it. And he goes, you have a week. I'll see you at Nudies downtown at 7 p.m. And I was like, wait, what? And he's like, yeah, I'll see you then. And I did it and stumbled through a 3-hour set with him next to me. And it was horrible. It was not fun. Couldn't mix hip hop together. Couldn't do anything. And then he's like, all right, cool. I'll see you again in a week. Try again. And I was like, shit. I actually have to do something like this. So then I just dove in, fell in love, and then just time after time just kept, grinding on the circuit, having fun with some opportunities, met some staff, met some bookers, and then kind of came it. And now it's my weekends. And it was not something I expected by any means, but it's been fun.
That's crazy. I had no idea that that's how you got into it. It was from Aaron doing that. And I've never heard of a DJ just giving a stick to somebody with all their music and kind of their work and organization, and just being like, hey, here you go, man. So that's awesome that he did that. Yeah. And then to just be like, yeah, come on over here and kind of do a tryout. Yeah. That's a wild story.
Yeah, it was very unexpected, and the baseline of his crates and kind of what he's done with Crate Hackers and everything else has literally been the baseline for when I built my own library, and was able to actually figure out what my style was. So it was a very different baseline, but it it allowed for some versatility, which I enjoyed.
Yeah, I'm sure seeing how he goes about organization, especially for those that don't know who Aaron Traylor is, he's the owner, creator of Crate Hackers, which is a DJ record pool of sorts. Not somewhere where you can actually like download the music, but shows you kind of where you can go to download it, organization tools, all that kind of stuff. It's a really helpful tool for DJs, and having a mind like him helping you out and giving you a stick has got to be a good jumping off point of how to teach yourself how to go through the organization of your music and prep for sets and things like that. So, but yeah, that's an insane way to get into it. And then obviously outside of DJing, you have a full-time job working for Komos. Tell us a little bit about that brand and then what you do for that company.
Yeah, totally. So currently the senior brand manager for Tequila Komos, working under their parent company, Casa Komos Brands Group, or CKBG. This is year 3. Komos specifically is a redefining ultra luxury tequila, the same level of comparatives of like a 1942 or a Clase Azul, so a much higher price point, and that is mainly because of the techniques that go into it. A hilarious line that we love to say of, you think about the most expensive way to make tequila, and that's how we do it. But it's beyond kind of the wild tips and tricks, and it's the uniqueness of what actually goes into the juice. So the man that developed the liquid is former master sommelier Richard Betts. He started and sold multiple wine companies, multiple tequila companies, and was standing on a rooftop in Amsterdam with our other co-founder, Joe Marchese, and they were like, there's no good tequila to drink. Let's figure out something. So he took those winemaking techniques and was able to develop something super special. We're the fastest growing tequila, over $100 a bottle in the world. And last year finished number 3 bottle in both volume and velocity, over $100 a bottle. So very new brand, taking the world by storm, and really elevating everything that you can think of from a tequila standpoint.
Who's 1 and 2? Is it Clase Azul and 40?
Clase Azul 1942.
And 42?
Yeah.
Okay, that's what I imagine. Yeah, those are always the big ones that you see out in clubs. I mean, with Clase Azul doing it with their bell is always a big thing, and people just like to bring it out and kind of do it for the clout and ringing that bell, but obviously that's something that goes down smooth too. And then branching off of that, you have now Superbird, which is a lot of people, like if you look at a High Noon bringing out their tequila seltzers, a lot of other companies kind of getting into the tequila seltzer game as opposed to the vodka seltzer. And now you guys are kind of branching off into that too. Yeah. What I noticed, I mean, obviously you bringing these over, and thank you so much. I'm going to crack one of these open in just a second here, do a little taste test. But what I noticed is obviously different from just like the regular vodka soda or tequila soda. You guys actually have flavors of these. Like they're doing a tequila sunrise, you have a Paloma, and then you also have just the regular tequila sodas too. But it's awesome to be able to kind of can that and get it in just a nice, easy tequila drink form. But it's a mixer at the same time.
Yeah, too. We recognize like the importance that High Noon is. I mean, everybody uses High Noon as a great example of, you think about kind of the progression of what kind of canned cocktails and canned alcoholic beverages is. The seltzer world clearly blew up. White Claw, redefined the space in a big way. And, as American society continues, convenience is always going to be the big thing. I mean, Amazon became powerful because of the convenience that they create. And so you start with a seltzer, and then you kind of graduate to the High Noons or the Cutwaters or things. And we're kind of viewing this as, okay, now you go a next step further, and you've got the same full strength tequila that is in the bottles of Superbird, because we do have the full strength that you find in a tequila soda. So you can just walk up to the bar, get exactly what you want, and then not have to worry about anything. But more importantly, it's the consistency. So what one bar does versus the next bar does for a tequila soda lime or a tequila pineapple, it's always going to be a struggle. What the W has versus what Kid Rocks has for tequila soda is kind of a huge discrepancy. So being able to come in and know that you're going to get that bartender quality cocktail, but in a can every time, that's a fun thing to market for sure. Yeah,
that's something I would never even think about, of who's a little bit more of a heavy-handed bartender and what mix you
love those. We loved those back in the day.
But yeah, you don't think about that, where in a can, I'm assuming it's all perfectly portioned every single time to the correct mix of what's going to taste right, where it's not too strong, not too weak. And that's a good thing that you guys think about marketing and branding wise that I would not have ever thought about not working in that industry. So, but yeah, we're going to get into a couple things here, obviously getting started, getting to know you, your background a little bit, from working both as a DJ and with a tequila company, which obviously I'm assuming those fit hand in hand a lot of the time for you to work. A lot of these DJs like to drink, and then it's kind of just an easy way for you to slide Komos in there and get their branding out. But we'll talk about that. We're going to talk about some other things that you do, booking for a couple of these different bars, just kind of getting into the journey of getting into places in Nashville, how you go about branding and marketing yourself, branching out to get newer gigs, some of the stuff that you have coming up, and some of the stuff that you've done recently working with bigger acts. Give us a little bit of a rundown of how you go through your preparation of your curation of a night.
I think the first thing that comes down to it is where. I think location is extremely important when you are planning for a set. Like, are you playing for a cocktail bar, or are you playing for a crazy nightclub, or maybe you're just planning yourself for a wedding? So I think that location is very important. I think that a lot of people kind of have the songs that they love to play, and they try to see how they can fit into those different venues, which, I mean, that's important, but when you figure out your location, you figure out your kind of demographic, what's the age group that you're playing for, really narrow down kind of the vibe that you're wanting to create is something that I like to do. But my difference that I think is, I think, a double-edged sword to some degree is severe ADHD, like prescribed for it and everything. And I truly believe that what you see in a crowd from an open format perspective on night to night changes. And so while you can have, your certain curations, whether it be BPM or energy levels or whatever, it's really dependent on what crowd walks in at any point in time. I mean, we play on Broadway, and you're at Barstool all the time. And while it has a certain demographic that leans one way, what you have today might not be what you have tomorrow. And I think that the recognition of that and what those different individuals enjoy, I take that into account, and I kind of create these sort of like little 10 to 15 minute little like mini sets of like, all right, I know these songs blend together. I know these songs go. It's a really good kind of moment. And then show up, kind of see who's there, and then start shifting in those directions. I actually struggle preparing for 1 hour sets. It's kind of the biggest thing that gives me anxiety. So got a chance to open for Anderson .Paak in September, and I think I stayed up late longer for that than any other thing I've ever worked on. And it's because I don't like planning so far in advance. I like looking at the crowd. I like seeing what people respond with. I take a lot of pride in my knowledge of music, that it creates a problem when I have to be like, all right, you've got an hour. You have to make sure it flows correctly. You can't have any mess ups on transitions, figure it out. So those kind of efforts definitely take me a whole lot longer to kind of plan.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. And especially because in a shorter set like that, you want to be able to show off your versatility as a DJ, but then fitting that into the crowd that's in front of you only in an hour, is a lot harder to do. I always end up like trying to prep sets, and then like you're saying, once you go there and you see the crowd, I feel like I prep an entire set and have all these songs that I'm like, all right, these are going to work for me opening up for a guy like Anderson .Paak. And then you see the crowd and you just go a whole different direction.
Yeah.
And then even nights like a slower night at Barstool, where if I'm there on like a Monday night, and it might not be that packed club environment where you're not playing necessarily a club set, that's where you have to switch it up and play an entirely different set based off that crowd, be able to read that room. Where like the other Monday when NASCAR was in town, they had a buyout.
Yeah.
And that's a completely different vibe than what Barstool would typically be, where it was 200 people that were all NASCAR fans, older demographic of 40 plus.
Yeah, you're not playing Sexy Red in the club at
correct, that point. Yeah. You're playing a whole different set at that point, which that just goes into the preparation of like you're saying, knowing what venue you're at and then what the crowd is going to be there. And you kind of dip your hands into everything, where you're playing bars, you're playing clubs, you're doing weddings as well too. What do you think the harder gig is, doing a club or doing a wedding?
Oh, I would say that planning for a wedding is so much more difficult, both from an organizational standpoint of knowing, okay, you've got to do your introductions. You can't mess up on the pre-ceremony. You have like these specific songs that have to be played at certain times. But then everything that you think about when it comes to like building a crowd or playing for a group of people like goes out the window, because a lot of these brides, a lot of these individuals getting married, they're like, all right, these are the songs that we want you to play. These are the songs that we don't want you to play. So you might be playing for a millennial crowd, but they might only want classic rock. And you look at your library like the week before and you're like, there's no way that I have enough music for this. So you have to rethink the way that you go about it.
Yeah.
But I also think that it's difficult because it's beyond just the music selection. It's also mic work. So like some bars, like Barstool, you don't really do much mic work or anything. Whiskey Row, you do a little bit of mic work. Lucky Bastard, which is one of the bars I play at and book for, they like a lot of mic work. You have to be good on the mic for a wedding, and you have to be excited. You have to be clear. And I think that's something that a lot of people don't think about, because there's phenomenal DJs that I know that are also the most introverted people in the human. And if you tell them to get on a microphone, they're going to freak the fuck out. But that's kind of like what you have to plan for when you think about a wedding.
Yeah. And I think one of the bigger things too is getting all the names right on the mic too.
Pronunciation's a bitch.
Yeah. Because if you fuck up somebody's name at a wedding, it's like that just ruins their entire night. Yeah. They're like, God damn it, this dude said my name wrong. But 100% true. I have so many friends that I feel like are so social when they're around myself or other friends in our group, and then they DJ and they will never get on the mic.
Yeah.
And completely just like don't even touch it, anything at all, which I mean, obviously in a wedding, that's 50% of the game is being on the mic and announcing people and getting everybody to the next event, letting people know what's coming up. Do you think that helped you a lot as far as a DJ, like working these weddings and getting used to that?
It did. I have a large background in entertainment, so that's kind of where it is. Even before that, I was told at 7 years old I was going to be a politician, and then the semester before I graduated, I like dropped out of school, turned down a job in DC, and pursued a creative career.
Yeah.
So like my entire life has been. I mean, my family jokes that I like was speaking when I came out the womb. So for me specifically, I've always enjoyed the mic work on things. Transparent moment. My skill set as a DJ only goes so far. Like I don't like, I'm not a James Hype. Like I don't have these like crazy techniques that I do. I rely a lot on the performance. And I think that that's kind of a differentiating thing is I'll get on the mic, I'll stand on the subwoofer, I'll get people excited. Like that performance energy piece is something that I rely on a lot and that I thoroughly enjoy. And I think that kind of translates over to weddings, translates over to other pieces, but also is something that I think anybody and everybody, like take a speech class. Like I think that's like the greatest thing that anybody can do to learn different ways to present themselves on a microphone.
Yeah. I know Maddie, especially my girlfriend, would hate it because public speaking is not her strong suit. So if she were to be up there and have to get on a mic, she would probably piss her pants. But that's a perfect little segue here, because you're talking about you being able to jump up, make more of a performance and be that entertainer as a DJ. How much do you think that goes into like your branding as DJ 1L? Being able to build your brand on and off social media, being able to build your brand while you're DJing, be that entertainer, and how much do you think that goes into you as a DJ and helps you with getting new gigs, being that outgoing performer?
Yeah, I mean, I think that I'm an extroverted extrovert, and I think that by hiding any piece of that, I'm not being true to myself, both as a human and as a DJ. So I think that my performance aspect is a huge piece of my brand. I think like if I had to pick the two things that set me apart, it would be my ability to perform on stage, and then it's just that song selection, that song curation. So the pop punk songs that you love but you might have forgot, or the random trap edits to like classic rock songs and things like that. Like I think that I spend hours and hours every week, like finding new songs, looking at, top Billboard hits from June of 2017. Like what was there? What was that song that was good for a month that we all loved? Like ABCDFU. Like that was great for like a moment. What was that 10 years ago? Like I I love music that much, and I like finding those songs of nostalgia that people can bring in. And so when people show up to my sets, they're not getting like the same 300 songs that you can expect from an open format perspective. You're getting everything from Gloria Gaynor all the way to now. So I think that's something that I enjoy quite a lot.
Yeah, as a outsider's perspective of not being a DJ, when I'm in a club and I hear that song that gives me that, oh shit, I haven't heard this in forever, I love that moment. And that's coming from a DJ where when I'm in a club, when I hear that, I'm like, fuck, like I haven't heard this shit in forever. This song is so good, or it used to be so good.
Yeah.
Or, it's cool to hear that. But the social media and branding part, and then just like marketing yourself as a DJ is obviously so big. You kind of just always have to be on top of it. And I think being that entertainer helps so much as a DJ, as opposed to the DJs that just sit up there and they're just not even moving, not even dancing, not even doing anything, which I feel like I definitely suffer from a lot of the times too. When it's not necessarily like a very popular bar gig or like a club set of just kind of going through the motions up there. And I think about it sometimes where I'm like, fuck, like you kind of always have to turn it on and be that entertainer as a DJ, because you never really know who's going to be there, even if it's the middle of the afternoon on a Saturday, where if you're just not being energetic up there, they're just kind of like, oh, this DJ's, you could be playing songs that are great, but if you're not giving out the energy, then I feel like that kind of goes into the crowd too, where they're like, oh, he's not really excited to it. So
yeah,
why should I be?
When you think about anything that you do or anything that you're like appealing to a group of individuals, if they don't think you're having fun, it can be the number one hit song in the world. And there's going to be a level of excitement because of just what that song brings. But there's so much more that you can go when you're actually showcasing that you're having fun. And yeah, is it always easy? No, it's not. I mean, even me as someone that like I literally this Halloween dressed up as one of those like wacky, wild, inflatable tube mans.
Yeah.
That's just how I dance on stage. Like that's
you're the same height as them too.
Yeah,
so.
Exactly. You can't tell, but I am 6'6". But I just move around, and yeah, there's some nights where it's packed shoulder to shoulder, and like those are the nights that like we dream of. Like, what is it? The Shaquille O'Neal quote of he's a dubstep DJ because every time he gets on a festival, it's like Game 7 of the NBA Finals. Yeah, like that energy is real. But that's not every night. Like right now, you go downtown in Nashville right now in December, and it's not this packed crowd so much. But you have to play like you're playing for a packed crowd every time. I got an opportunity to play a fraternity show in Arkansas State, and that only happened because I was playing at a bar and it was maybe 40% capacity. It wasn't. And somebody was there, they enjoyed it. And then I got an opportunity for a booking for that. And I could have easily, taken a step back and been like, all right, well, it's not that busy. We're just going to like go in the song and dance. But as us, like we have to be on at all times.
Yeah. And that's part of being on like that is what gets you that gig, which is huge. And then that could open up opportunities to build residencies there, to do something like that every single year, every month, whatever it's going to be, work for that brand and that company, do events all the time. So it's hard, like you said, it's hard to turn it on all the time, but it's something that we kind of have to think about too. I'm going to take a little break here, and I'm going to crack this can open. We're going to do our little taste test. So we got a couple flavors here. Yep. They have the black cherry. This is the pineapple.
Pink grapefruit,
and then the lime, and then like we were talking about earlier, they have the tequila sunrise, the palomas.
Yep. We've got some spicy tequila too if we're really feeling frisky. So,
and we cracked it open just to smell it. I'm gonna put this right.
Oh yeah. The crisp.
Yeah. But I've had the tequila high noons. That's good.
Yep. Your little marketing blurb of 0 carbs, 0 sugar.
I was literally just...
That's your marketing punch. 95 calories, which is kind of roughly the same as what you would expect from something. But it's the 0 sugar that's kind of the big...
See, I never even look at like the calories of stuff, so I don't even know what a regular drink is. I don't like to look at that stuff. It just...
You don't want to know the calories in a cocktail.
Yeah,
it's like 300. It's like 300 to 400 calories for like a standard. Like if you order like a margarita at a bar with like tequila, sweet and sour, you're looking at like about almost 400 calories.
Yeah. So, see, that's why I don't look at it, because I don't even want to know.
No, it's not.
If I'm just gonna drink, I just want to.
drink.
Yeah. But yes, I mean, these are always so easy to like. I'm a huge fan of High Noon.
Yeah.
That's like legitimately the only thing that I've really been drinking the last couple years. If I am drinking mixers, I'll just do like a vodka water, which is weird that thinking that to not count
Honestly,
calories.
like a spicy water is like the joke of it. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
tequila water, vodka water. It's not bad.
Yeah.
We as millennials have never had healthy drinking habits. So the fact that we're finally like releasing the reins a little bit on something healthier like that is definitely good.
Yeah, but it's just like the convenience, like you said for this, and especially as a bartender too, it probably makes it so much easier to just turn around and grab a can instead of having to pour mixers every time. But yeah, these are great. And these are something where you can just, gets dangerous because I can just sit and just.
It's 5% too. So it's like, so it's a little bit more than a beer.
Yeah.
It's actual tequila. So you're going to feel better. Tequila is the only stimulant out of all like the alcohols. So like it's an upper, whereas everything else is like a downer.
Yeah.
So you get a little tequila in your system. I mean, there's always the jokes about it, but something simple like this, you can run on it. So
Yeah, tequila makes your clothes fall off. That's what they say.
that is.
Well, let's get back into some of this talk for DJing and your career so far. I'm sure you've had ups, you've had downs. What are some of like the challenges that you've had as a DJ? Whether it's working out at gigs, whether it's constructing music or trying to get gigs, what have you been dealing with?
I think a big challenge is just kind of what you want to have from a versatility standpoint. So like I book for 2 venues that I could play at every weekend if I wanted to. And like, that's fun, but being able to bounce around the city, I think is a luxury that we have from being in a city like Nashville. Like, I definitely think that we're very lucky to be able to have the versatility. And sometimes I think that comes as a challenge, both from a curation standpoint of like, all right, do I have the music for this venue or not? But I also think it's about trying to get that consistency, from just a booking standpoint. Like, I mean, I book for a couple venues, but I mean, I still run with the Jam Factory circuit, same as you. And sometimes you get a venue that you really like, and then the venue decides to go in a different direction, or maybe you then get reallocated to a different way as well. I think that trying to keep up with that and the politics of that, it's something that I personally don't enjoy. I think we all should be working together to kind of just like bring the scene up in a lot of ways. But at the same time, I think like trying to go through, okay, who do I have to have a conversation with to get at this venue? Or who do I have to talk to? Do I need to stay late to hang out with this DJ? Like I think that piece of the game is something that a lot of people understand. And I think a lot of people also like don't enjoy because of the challenge it has to bring.
It's definitely something that we've talked about a lot here, where building that networking piece, just kind of building on that networking piece and showing face at these different venues that you do want to play at.
Yeah.
Trying to get your foot in the door at those venues. Like, you're not going to just get booked at those places if you're not really showing up, unless you know some other DJ that's there or the booker that's there. And like you said, for you booking for 2 of these venues, like you booked for Lucky Bastard, you booked for Whiskey River, how do you go about that? Because for you only doing 2 of them, you being a DJ, as opposed to some of these agencies, like these agencies never once heard me prior to me being on with like a Jam Factory.
Yeah.
It was just kind of like word of mouth, where I had Darren vouch for me, because Darren, I've known him for 10 years. He's DJ'd with me. He's heard me DJ. And then when the time came that Jam Factory hit them up and was like, hey, like we need a DJ, he was like, hey, Dex just moved here, put him on here. But at that point, like for me, it's wild that they have never heard me DJ, and they were just like, cool, let's plug him into here, just off of word of mouth, which, yes, I would trust Darren 100%. But as someone who's done booking for venues, I would hate to think about booking somebody that I've never listened to.
Yeah.
Like, I want to be able to hear you and know that you're up to the standards that I want to hear as a DJ or as a club manager, as a club owner. For you booking these venues, I know that you've reached out to me literally every single time that you've reached out to me. I've been busy.
Well, it's been very last minute. You're busy. You're busy, man. You're high in demand. Okay.
Unfortunately, like I'm always down to take new gigs and make more money. And obviously, same thing like you're saying, get your foot into the door of new venues. But how do you look at it as far as booking these for these venues, and how do you go about putting the right DJ in place to fit those different vibes of the different venues?
Yeah. I mean, one, I think the word of mouth piece is huge. I think that anybody that has a decent amount of skill can make a recorded mix. Because whether that be somebody that mixes live or somebody that builds it in something like Ableton, I don't think that a 1 hour mix can truly define like what a DJ could do. Yes, there's bass lines. Like, I don't mean to like knock anything of like that. Like there's definitely some pieces to it, but that doesn't tell the whole story when that's a 1 hour mix that you're curating for, you know, yourself or for a moment. 4 hours is a long time to DJ. And I think that a lot of people don't understand what goes into open format DJs. And so for me, it's the word of mouth. What are other people saying? Like you're in Newtown before people knew who you were. Like, what are the conversations people are having about you? What are the recommendations they're having? If I have the chance to go listen to them, that's a thing. But even more so, if they're playing at another bar or I give them a chance to do an opening set, the first people I call is the staff, because the people and the DJs that are capable of playing for the bar or playing for the staff, those are the ones that I'm going to look at a second time, because every venue is different. And if a DJ is being like, all right, this is my style, this is the only thing I do, like it, love it, hate it, doesn't matter, this is what I'm playing. In a city like Nashville, that doesn't work. And so having those conversations and understanding exactly what they're bringing to the table from a longer period, I think that's really important.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with that 100%. It's got to be hard to do. Especially here, I mean, I'm sure you try and put on some of the DJs that you like, but then at the same time, it might be a harder discussion of like, hey, maybe you don't fit the vibe for this venue. But it's not easy being a booker, and I've done it, and you got people hitting you up all the time, and it can get a little bit...
It's stressful, especially when like you're booking your friends, like people that you enjoy, like you're being like, all right, well, how can I Tetris the schedule for this month to make sure that the people are in the headline spots that need to be there, or maybe there's the people that shit has hit the fan and I've called 3 times and been like, hey, can you help me out? Like I need a feel for something. And the ones that are like always doing that, like when I first became a DJ in the city, like that's all I was good for, we'll say. Like I didn't know anybody, I didn't have anything. So it was, I'd have a couple bookers that were last minute, like, hey, I need you for tonight. So in my head, I was always on call for the weekend. Like if I had something, because that was how I was going to get my name out, is if you can be there when people need it, then maybe they'll give you a look when there's time to actually schedule something in. And that's kind of a tactic that I was able to find to get more opportunities. And I look very highly when other people are willing to just be scrappy and really go for it.
Yeah, I think that's huge here. I mean, that's how I got my foot in the door. Like I was just saying, where just kind of always being game ready and being ready for the call to go and take a gig. Like that's literally how I got in with Jam Factory, was just being ready, and then they would hit me up last minute, and I was like, cool, let's do it. And then being prepared for those sets where when you do get called and you have to go play the set, you're ready for it, where then they're giving you good feedback back to either the agency or to you, whoever's booking. And that's literally kind of how I got my foot in the door at Barstool too, where I had one gig, they loved me off like the one gig, and then one of the headliners missed his flight. And that's how I did my first headlining set there, was just because when they hit me up last minute, they're like, hey, can you do this? I was like, yeah, absolutely. And then being prepared again for that set to know what to play. And that also comes from going around networking, going into these venues, hearing the style that they are playing there. So that way, you know, kind of, hey, I've been in here 10 times already. I know what the DJs are playing. I know what the venue wants to be played stylistically. I know what the staff likes. And then you're just ready to go and kill it.
Yeah. It's definitely an important piece. And it's difficult sometimes for us because, you know, we're always playing at 10 p.m. on a Saturday. So we can't go check everybody out all the time. But I do think stuff like that is important because, and it's something that I feel very strongly about, is you're not playing for yourself at these open format bars. Like, yes, if you get booked for a concert or a show, that people are there to see you, or they're people to see you and the headliner. So you have more opportunity to play for yourself. But like, we're there to make the bar money at the end of the day. Like that's the truth of it. Like we want to say, yeah, like we're extremely important. And we get to like really bring that energy, but we're bringing that energy so people will buy more drinks,
100%.
so people will have a good time, so people will stay inside that venue, and being able to kind of check your ego at the door and be able to step outside of what your comfort box might be. If I could play mashup, like Loud Luxury, Two Friends style EDM every single day, all the time, yeah, I'd love it. It's great. Do I like also enjoy like crank that knock 2 level like dubstep? Yeah, I love that stuff. But you're not playing that at 2 p.m. on a rooftop. Like that's not it. I might try to sprinkle it in when I can, but that's not what you're trying to do. So I think that piece of it as well is extremely important.
Yeah, and then building the connections with the different venues is something that's always huge because, again, that's how you're going to get your foot in the door. You recently got the opportunity, like you talked about a little bit ago, to open for an Anderson .Paak. How did that end up kind of going about where you got that opportunity?
Yeah, so the agency that was kind of running the entire event, I've worked with the agency in the past, both from a creative standpoint as a creative, running social media and kind of photo video for that agency, have DJ'd for them for a couple of events that they have run, and then also have worked with them from the Komos standpoint in enlisting their services for different things. So it definitely was a relationship moment on that side. But it was also a bunch of conversations revolving around showcasing my versatility of like, it's something that I've been wanting to do yes, again, the mashup house, that's kind of what I'm known for. But I mean, I grew up, with a hat that was 3 sizes too big in a small town, listening to Lil Wayne in my 1996 Ford Explorer. So like, I wanted to be able to showcase like, hey, I can do something different. And so when I found out that this was coming to town, when I was talking to the people that were actually doing the bookings, I was like, hey, look, like let me curate something differently and let me kind of, step outside of the box that people have typecasted me as, and got that opportunity. And it was probably one of the most fun shows I've had all year.
Yeah, that's literally what I was just going to say, is how much fun was that to prep for a set like that and to play something different and to be able to kind of showcase yourself stylistically a little bit differently as a DJ.
Yeah, it was great. I mean, I actually have to credit the young manager Mike, as we know, because I wanted to find a way to integrate some kind of disco, because Anderson .Paak playing a vinyl set, I didn't want to just go into pure hip hop. And Lil Wayne is my favorite like rapper. I wanted to have something that could kind of start, because his last name is Carter, so it was my last name. So I kind of hit him up and I was like, hey, like, do you have any insight on like a Lil Wayne related like disco song?
Track,
and he's like, no, what are you thinking? And so I was like, Mr. Carter, and that's what I wanted for my intro. And he's like, no, I don't think I have anything. Like, I'll take a look. And 3 hours later, he like DMs me a Dropbox link, and he's like, so I got bored and I made this song. And he's like, I didn't realize how well disco works with Lil Wayne. So then I then used that as a baseline to then start the set of like, cool, now I've got this like 106, 108 BPM like disco song with Lil Wayne. How can I then like transition that? So then it went from like a little bit of disco house to then just a whole bunch of throwbacks. And from the nostalgic perspective that I mentioned earlier, something that Aaron kind of taught me early when he was teaching me about things was that you're not always wanting to play the songs that people know. You're wanting to play the songs they think they forgot.
Yeah.
And I've used that as a center of like my music curation, and knowing that I was going to need to play a throwback set for Anderson .Paak, that kind of was the center of my mentality of like, all right, what songs do people love they might not have heard in like a decade? And so then I used that to kind of help build what I was trying to create, and it was fun.
Yeah, it's interesting to see your thought process of getting that first song as kind of your intro song, and then figuring out where you're going to navigate from there and how you're going to kind of go through your set seamlessly from that jumping off point that you want to start with that intro because it relates to you. Still trying to stick with like a general theme of what that Anderson is going to bring, and then just kind of branching off and going on your own journey through music, letting the fans hear from you and presenting a little bit of a different style for you. And like you're saying with what Aaron said, I mean, it's a big piece of that nostalgia that we kind of talked about before, where people might not have heard it in 10 years. And that one song can bring back a memory that they might have forgot and change their whole night just from hearing that one song, because music is very, very powerful. And every song means something different to somebody else.
Yeah, everybody has a song they can't listen to because it was their ex favorite song, or this was like a great night that was great until you can't remember it, sort of thing. Like I think that's what brings the fun from music, because like we can all go to the top 100 charts and build a 4-hour set. Like that's easy, relatively speaking, from a DJ perspective. But it's like finding those little moments, those little songs that are shocking in a positive way. When you think about it as from disruption, like there's negative disruption, there's positive disruption. I think finding those songs from a positively disruptive point is what makes those sets memorable, and it's what makes those people want to kind of come back to those moments.
And that's what makes DJs different from the guys that can go through a set and not just play all the top 40 songs that are out there, because like you said, it is a little bit easy, but to me, I think that it's also very boring.
Yeah.
And that might be a little bit different here in Nashville, because I do feel like a lot of times that is what the crowd wants to hear is those top songs. But when you can figure out how to sprinkle in new remixes, new songs that they might not have heard, where you're breaking new songs that just came out that might not be on the radio or anything yet, where people are going out and they're Shazamming that song. They're coming up to you saying, hey man, what was that? Those are the moments for me as a DJ that I love, where people are getting introduced to new music or getting music that they haven't heard in forever, and just kind of making an impact on them in that moment again.
Yeah, I think a really good example of that is Where Are You Now by John Summit. We all know that song. We all know that there's amazing remixes of that song as well. And when that song first came out, we all knew it was going to be crazy. But John Summit is still an artist that a lot of the mainstream people are still slowly discovering. And so that was a song that was really fun to play. I have a mashup with that in like Adventureland, for example. So it's a little bit more like big room, kind of progressive housey. And the lyrics of that song are very catchy. Would play it kind of during peak, and people were dancing and having fun because they're not going to like stop dancing to like the melody that's not great, but people weren't singing along. Fast forward 6 months, everybody knows the word to that song. And that's really fun as a DJ, when you know that there's songs that are exciting that you're playing, and you see that development as like time continues of like, oh wow, people are actually picking this up. People are actually knowing. And then that showcases, to fulfillment on your side as well, because you know that there's certain songs that's like, just keep listening. You're going to have fun. I promise.
Yeah.
Like it's going to be okay.
Yeah. Sometimes you get into it a little bit too early, where you're like, and it could almost be disheartening to a certain point, where you as a DJ, you know that this song is going to be hot.
Yeah.
And the public just hasn't gotten on board to it.
Think about the new Skrillex, from a commercial old school Skrillex, people loved. New experimental Skrillex, the commercial like generic crowd was like, what the hell is going on here? But then over time, people are like, okay, yeah, no, this is really good.
Yeah, that's a perfect example where you look at his new like Ratata and stuff like that, where it's like at first people were kind of like, oh, like I don't really know, and then I'd hear it out in DJ sets and people would vibe to it.
Yeah,
and that's a perfect example. What kind of advice do you have for some upcoming DJs?
I think the biggest advice is, one, understand your library. I think that an open format moment, you might be playing, 95 BPM Cardi B, and then you'll realize that nobody in that room cares about hip hop. They care about Cardi B. So being able to have the versatility. I mean, I truly believe you're only as good as your library from an open format perspective. If you're not capable of shifting directions and you limit yourself to one genre or one BPM, you're going to find struggles. So experiment, like figure out what transitions works, like just really download a whole bunch of stuff and dive into it and see. And yeah, it might not sound great at first. And as someone that had no idea how to mix anything below 120 BPM when I first started, I really had to challenge myself. And I think that by doing that, it allowed more opportunities to come sooner, because people could trust to put me into a room regardless of who's inside it, and knowing that I could have, somewhat of a good time early on. And I think that for new DJs, I think that's extremely, extremely important with versatility.
Yeah, that's great advice, because there's plenty of younger DJs that I know that even when I go out and see them, they're like, oh, I don't have that song, or, oh, I've never heard it.
Yeah.
And it could be songs that are major songs that you should have in your library, and they just don't, whether they just don't know how to find it, they don't know about different record pools, things like that. So That's definitely a good one as far as advice goes. For you working with a tequila brand, being so busy with that, and then a lot of the weekends being a DJ, how do you go about balancing that?
I don't. I don't. I mean, the honest thing is don't. I'll work a 70-hour week and then flip around 20 hours of DJing. Like the day that I'm not able to do that is going to be a very sad day because it's just going to be bad. No, but a lot of the balance on it comes to it's really hard because I woke up one day when I realized that I wanted to drop out of school to be a creative, and I said that I wouldn't ever wake up and not do something that I wanted to do. And so like DJing's not a job for me. Like, yes, there's those moments where it's like we're DJing 2 brunches and 3 headline sets in a weekend and like we want to die at the end of that 25 hours. Mm-hmm. But never within that am I like I'm not enjoying what I do. And so for me, the balance is as much as like how much can I push myself, which is not good, which is not healthy. But then it comes out to like where does that priority lie in that moment? So like November, for example, I was traveling a whole lot for work. I was out of town all the time. So November, I didn't DJ as much. I went like 4 weeks in a row without DJing in Nashville. And yes, does that like stifle a bit of the growth that I want in the city? 100%, because I'm not as consistent. But at the end of the day, Komos and CKBG, like that's my priority. Like that's what keeps the lights on. Like that's what pays the bills. Like it's also super enjoyable from that side. And so there's times where it's like, all right, cool. I have to go to Formula One Vegas, which, it's not a bad gig to go to.
I have to
go there. Yeah. It's really bad. But like it's moments like that where it's like, all right, I still get to go do something fun. I still get to go something cool, but I have to put DJ on the back burner. And so I think that my balance just comes of knowing when is actually an appropriate time for me to be able to do a passion career like this versus my actual job and what I actually need to focus on.
Yeah, I think it's got to be really cool though, as far as working in a liquor brand, to be able to kind of bridge the gap, because obviously tequila is associated with nightlife. You're in bars, you're in nightclubs. To be able to go to events like that has got to be really cool still, to be able to kind of network with people while you're at those events, to be able to go while you're out there, maybe go see a different DJ that you otherwise wouldn't have ever been able to see being here in Nashville and working, and just kind of listen to new stuff in different cities. Because we're usually traveling, it's New York.
It's everywhere. New York's the number one place I'm there at least once a month, but like New York, Miami, Chicago, Las Vegas. But in reality, like that's my biggest takeaway when I go. I always reference, like I lived in Los Angeles for 3 years. Most people in the EDM community understand Space Yacht and what that kind of, grassroots kind of building community is. I don't even think they're grassroots now that they're doing stuff all over the world. But they actually this Tuesday had their very last Tuesday show ever. And when I lived there, I was traveling so much for work. Mondays, Tuesdays, and sometimes Wednesdays were the only days that I was home. So Tuesdays, I would go by myself to the club, sit in the back, grab just a beer and just listen to music. And when I get to travel for work, I get to do that again. And that's the piece that I find fun, both from a growth standpoint, but also just a lover of music. I'll go to this random bar in New York City and be able to look at these DJs. I'll go to the Bottle Blonde tent at Waste Management because Komos had presence there, and get to listen to these DJs that are rocking these like big places, and I'm learning inspiration. I have a million notes of like this city, this mashup, like what happened, what is this? But then on the flip side, I get to see, how spoiled we are in Nashville by having such amazing talent, such as yourself, such as Darren, such as other people that play on the circuit. Scott Bishop, DJ Hightower, one of my closest friends, he'll know when I'm on work trips because he'll get a text at like 1 a.m. Being like, I have no idea what this guy is playing. He's playing for 600 people and he's mixing lyrics over lyrics. Like it goes both ways.
Yeah.
But I think from an educational standpoint, you really can learn what you need to do or what your market is missing by seeing what other markets are doing, what trends are happening. Are they ahead? Are they behind? And using that from just a growth standpoint.
Yeah, I think that's huge. And I think I urge like every DJ to go out and go outside of their city. Even go out in their city if they're not going out. Go listen to other DJs. Don't just go to the venues that you're booked at all the time. When you are traveling, go listen to other DJs. See what's being played in other cities, because you're going to hear some shit that you have never heard, some shit that you would think about that where you're like, damn, I haven't played this in forever. I would never even think that this song would work. And you pick up new inspirations, new ideas, and new connections too, where you're going to be able to meet new people.
I think any creative field, any creative direction that you want to go as a human, you really need to always be willing to grow. I mean, if you're not growing, like what are you doing in a creative space? Because that repetition, people will recognize that from a DJ perspective. And so the only way to grow other than educating yourself on what skill sets you're missing, how are other people doing it? How are other people going about things? I mean, you've seen me show up at Barstool after a football game a dozen times. And like I've learned things from you of like things that I haven't seen, things that I haven't thought about. I hope that people show up and say the same about me. But I think that in a city like Nashville, where we have so many different venues, so many different demographics, so many different styles of play, if you have the ability to go out and catch somebody else's set that you might have heard or haven't heard before, really, take a dive into what they're playing, how the crowd's reacting, and utilize that in your own growth perspective.
Mm-hmm. I always appreciate you coming out, and I always appreciate that you actually come and say hi during the sets. I do find it a little weird. I've had a lot of the times where I've been out and other DJs from here will like message me after and be like, "Oh, I was there for your set last night." I'm like,
why did you say hi?
Yeah. I'm like, why don't you come say hi? And they'll just be like, "Oh, like, I don't know. I just didn't want to." I'm like, bro, like, come say hi. Like, this shouldn't be weird. Like, cause if I'm in there, like, I'm always going to go say what's up to, especially if I know them. Like, and even if I don't know them, most of the time will go introduce myself and just be like, "Hey, like, I'm from here. I'm a DJ." I know it sounds a little like cliche, being like, "Oh, I'm a DJ," and most DJs, if they don't know you, are going to be like, "Oh, this fucking guy." But yes, definitely come and introduce yourself, and you always come and show love, and I appreciate that. And yeah, I mean, it just being able to hear what other people are playing and get some new ideas, and then also being able to hear what's being played at the venue is huge. As far as like a Nashville community, I think that's something that's awesome, is being able to go out and listen to other people and let them know what they're playing. Let them know if it's cool or not. I'm always somebody that's like, if somebody is going to come up and ask me and be like, "Yo, what's that song that you're playing?" I'm never going to like gatekeep it. Like, I'll be like, "Oh, cool." Like, I've literally just emailed people on the spot of like what song I was playing. I'll be like, "Cool, like, what is it?" and just send it over to them right away. But yeah, how do you think, as far as like the community of Nashville, how do you think that you go about making it better, or what do you think like needs to be done in like the nightlife community, positively or negatively? Like,
I mean, I'm a little different in the sense of like, I show up, I do my gig, and I kind of bounce. Like, I don't lurk around like too much. It's also just the part of having like a full-time job. Like, I'm just exhausted by the time I'm done. A sort of piece, but I think that I'm very big on kind of information sharing. Like, I don't think that while if you and I have the same exact library, we're still going to play two completely different sets.
100%.
And so like the people that are like, "You don't want this remix or for these things," like I don't care about that. Like, one, most people ask for stuff because it's not like, you're not going to find the stuff I play on like a normal record pool. Like, I spend 20 hours a week in SoundCloud of like the people that have 3 followers. That's this random remix. I also do that because I severely lack in my production abilities. Like, I don't put out original music, so like I rely on that research to have. But if somebody else wants a different song, like, sure. Like, I sent a house remix to like an Evanescence song the other day to somebody. They're like, "Oh, this is really cool." And I'm like, "Yeah, I love this song. I played every set. It shocks people and it kicks to a fun house beat." And so like, I'm big on that. And I think that the community needs to be willing to do more of that, of like, "Hey, share your resources. What are you doing? Like, what are we?" Because if we're competing for the same gigs, but if 4 of us have residency at the same bar and the bar continues to succeed, then we're going to continue to succeed. So like, you need to be able and to be willing, again, like, check that ego at the door and have these conversations with people. And it's something I wish that there was more of. I wish that there was more opportunities for people to talk about what's working, talk about what's not working. I believe, was it Darren, I think, that organized, was it Beat Source or something? Yeah.
DJ City and Beat Source.
Yeah, like he organized that, and I was out of town, so I wasn't able to attend, but like things like that, I think that stuff is awesome because it gives the ability to bring up the community, because if the talent consistently rises regardless of the venue, regardless of who's playing, regardless of who's getting booked. Those venues are going to do better. Our wages are going to go up. Our reputation is going to go up, both as a city, both as individuals, and being able to like look beyond yourself, I think, is something that I think we could do more of, you know, across the board as a whole when it comes to DJing.
Yeah, I love being able to share my music with people, my crates with people, like you said. Even if you have 4 people that are all residents at the same spot, one, they're not going to be playing the same thing.
Yeah.
But even still, if you are, like Darren and I share music all the time. I literally send him like entire crates of stuff. But just doing that is going to, maybe he's like, oh, fuck, I never thought of playing this song here. And then same thing, vice versa, where you're talking about like an Evanescence song where as soon as you said it, I'm like, oh, shit. Like I would never think of playing a house remix to an Evanescence song. But that's stuff where you listen to it and you're like, fuck, like I could mix this in here somewhere. And it just adds more to the community to be able to kind of bring people together. It is something that I actually am hoping to set up in 2024 is to do kind of a meetup like that, like how DJ City and Beat Source did, but I want to do it with the platform.
Yeah.
Bring in DJs that have been on the show from different cities and just kind of do a big networking thing, talk about stuff like this, where talk about organization of crates, of sharing the music, of seeing what different people are playing in different cities, just seeing what they're playing in different cities at different nightclubs, bars, stuff like that, and just get a big DJ community meetup to hopefully happen in Nashville here in 2024. And I'd love to get that together, just so DJs can meet and mingle and pick each other's brains. I think it would be awesome.
Yeah, I mean, you don't know what you don't know, and again, like if you're wanting to improve yourself, there's only so much that you or like one person can teach yourself. It's always the I love relating it back to basketball. Like there's that one coach that you had for like 5 years growing up, and there's that like one technique that you couldn't figure out because your coach would always get pissed off because it's like, why can't you figure out how to box that? Like, why is this an issue? And then you swap coaches and in 2 weeks you've got it figured out. And it's just because sometimes that new perspective, sometimes that like different sentence, that slightly different approach just like makes it click in your brain. And creative outlets are always about perspective. And so by getting the perspective of more, that power of a collective mind truly helps progress like what you're trying to put out from a production standpoint. Yeah,
absolutely. Where do you see yourself going in the future? I know obviously Komos being on the top step of your priorities. As far as DJing goes, what are your future goals?
It's difficult because I don't have a like, oh, I want to play for EDC in 5 years. Like that's not like, if it happens, sure, like that'd be cool. But it's not something that's like on necessarily my radar. I think for me, it's continuing to branch out, continuing to showcase versatility within the venues and whatnot that I'm playing, and then potentially looking at like what either a different city circuit looks like for a weekend, or like going to College Station and playing there and seeing kind of what they have, or finding a couple of fraternities and being able to play. I've had some awesome opportunities to play for some cool fraternities this year and expanding onto that, and kind of seeing what those sort of 1 hour, 2 hour shows kind of look like. Because again, like I've relied on my open format kind of piece as a staple, because that's just what we have in Nashville. But I also throw a lot of different stuff from that nostalgia perspective. And so I'd like to showcase people, or I'd like to showcase like that skill set more in like a hyper concentrated set of like, all right, cool, here's 90 minutes, show me what you got. And really bring that performance to kind of that level with a crowd.
Gotcha. Cool.
Yeah.
What do you have as far as upcoming gigs coming up? We're sitting down, this is before New Year's, so you got obviously first gig at Barstool coming up here on the 30th of December. What about New Year's going into 2024? What do you have upcoming?
Yeah, so first time at Barstool on the 30th. I think that's going to be a super fun one. Really excited to get into that crowd. New Year's Eve, I'm playing at the W. So I'll be on the first floor living room. They're kind of turning it into like Club W for the night.
Yeah.
So that's going to be a really fun gig. And then kind of up in the air for next year. I've got a lot of kind of Gonna kind of take it easy in January a little bit just to kind of reset, organize a whole bunch of music, and kind of see what I can do from a travel standpoint. College Station is, again, a place that I'm looking at, some places in NorCal, just to go have a weekend. But for me, it's more of just, keep on chugging and keep on having fun. As we mentioned with Superbird, I'm transitioning to the marketing department there. Mm-hmm. So that's going to be a huge undertaking professionally. So again, it's going to be kind of that balance game of how much of this can I actually progress while I'm doing with transition meetings and understanding strategy for a whole new brand.
Yeah, trying to balance everything that's on your plate sounds incredibly difficult. And I envy you for like what you do, but I don't envy the workload that you have for yourself. So,
yeah.
But yeah, let's hit some rapid fire questions that I got set up for you here.
Cool.
One, starting off with, where is a venue that you would like to see yourself DJing in 2024? And we'll do a venue in Nashville and then a venue in the entire world. Where would you like to get your foot in the door?
Cool. Luckily enough, the goal that I had for 2024 was actually expanding into Barstool, and playing more for that college crowd with what I have. So very lucky to get that opportunity 2 days before the year ends. So I think that kind of was a big goal, and very excited to play there. I think if we think outside though, I've been to a lot of fun clubs in New York City, and I travel there so much for work that playing at something like a Tao or a Marquee, or being able to kind of expand into a market like New York, which is very different from Nashville. Mm-hmm. I think that's kind of a huge piece that I'd like to see develop in 2024.
Okay. Who is your favorite artist right now? This can be a DJ or just an artist that you like to listen to.
Crank That.
Really?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's like a blend between dubstep and techno. It's like almost like a techno vibe. I really enjoy him, and there's a lot of venues that I can get away with like 1 or 2 songs because it's a more like melodic trap sort of piece. Mm-hmm. But I thoroughly enjoy the content that he pushes out. Dubstep is kind of like my secret love that I don't pull out often. So yeah, definitely him.
One horror story that you have from DJing.
I was DJing at a bar, headline set. It was like 12 o'clock, and I was using the XDJ RX3. So like it had just came out. It had like released in October. I was playing on it in December, and there was a bug where if you did like a certain succession of like crate swapping within a certain amount of time, the board would freeze and shut down. And at the time, I had like a huge piece of my set that was not organized. So it was like 10 different crates.
Okay.
So that succession was happening so often that I was like missing transitions, and the board was freezing, and I would like have to shut it down. I'd literally have to get on the mic of like, you guys are so excited, you broke my board. But it happened like 6 times in like a 30-minute period. And I thought I'd never get a chance to play in that venue again. I was just like, I was so frazzled. I was like, I'm just pressing the buttons. I'm not actually doing anything. So yeah, I mean, when your tech fails, like that's the worst thing in the world. But for it to happen in succession, it's truly a terrifying moment.
Yeah, if you're talking about 6 times in a half hour, and then you're having to get on the mic and kind of cover your own ass while you're resetting, it's nerve-wracking.
It's not
that's
fun.
For sure. Yeah. If you could time travel to any era, where do you think it would be the most fun to DJ?
To DJ?
What time frame are we looking at?
I weirdly think that the like Club 54 vibes.
Okay.
Yeah, like go back to like the vinyl, that kind of like disco curation. I think that at that time period, music was very pure. It was very, I mean, granted, everybody was on drugs back then. So like that's a whole nother thing. But it was still just like, people were just enjoying music for what it was. And it wasn't like, oh, like, what are you curating? Like, what are you doing? There was a lot of trust from the DJs of like, people aren't coming up and giving you song requests. They're just like, all right, feel this music, see what it is. And I think that was a very transformative moment of music. And while it's very different from what I normally play, I think it would be fun to like experience that piece of history.
I think playing in a time like that too, just learning a little bit more about like DJ history.
Yeah.
Being able to play at a time like that too, where people are coming out to see DJs to hear their music, as opposed to now you're coming out, you're able to like request whatever you want. Where back in, I mean, if you look at older times, if you had that one vinyl where nobody else had it, they have to come out to see you DJ to hear that song, which had to be awesome to be able to DJ at that time, because then they're like, fuck, like they're coming out to see me because they know that I have this. And then it also makes you gatekeep all those records, because you're like, hey, if you want to hear this, you got to come see me, as opposed to now you can just pull anything up on your phone whenever you want. But yeah, that would be... What
about you? Where did you? I don't know if you've asked this question yet or not, but I'm curious.
Not. No, this is the first time. This is one of like the newer ones that I've had written down for a while, and I was like, this would be a good one to ask of what time frame. I think I would do like 70s, like a disco era, just because I think that the beat and the melody of disco tracks is just easy to dance to, and I think it would just be fun to just be in that era. I don't even do drugs or anything, but it's like that, the vibe. I feel like everybody is happy during that time frame. You're having good times at the club, good vibes, and it would be fun to just play that kind of genre throughout a night, of being able to just play up tempo, good beats, good vocals over the top of it. It'd be,
you gotta go to Manager Mike's set, dude. Like that's all this guy plays, and it's awesome. Like the Sparkle City Disco that comes and plays at Brooklyn Bowl, like that's really fun. And yeah, I mean, like it's pure, and I think that's the fun piece. Like I've been integrating disco a lot more into like brunch sets and stuff, because like you can still have the fun lyrics, like you can still play Drake over a disco set, but
or Lil Wayne, apparently.
Yeah, Lil Wayne, yeah. I think he actually finally put that song out because he was like, I didn't know it worked. I'm going to fine tune it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that it really changes people's perspective in the sense of like, you're not getting ratchet to, you know, Lil Wayne of early 2000s. It's like, all right, cool. Now I've got this kind of like the mimosas are flowing and we're having fun. Yeah, it's good.
Yeah, Mike is one that, obviously, disco is his staple. That's kind of his niche right now. But he's one that I've heard play out a bunch, even for like Matt's song release party for All Day. They had Mike open up, and when Mike played his set, I was loving it.
It's so fun.
Yeah. It's always just a good vibe, and I like that style of music. I mean, I'm a big house music guy, and then disco being similar as far as being able to kind of branch off from each other from there. So that would be my pick for you. So. What about you? Any questions that you have? Any things that you need to promote, obviously, aside from what we've already put out here?
No, I think we're good. Thank you for letting me come on. I think it was really entertaining. It was insightful to kind of talk a little bit deeper into the preparation. I think that that's something that a lot of people kind of forget sometimes, of like, oh, let's just throw a bunch of songs on and call it a day. But I think understanding the value you can bring when you actually know what's inside your library, I think is really fun.
Awesome. Yeah. I will let everybody know where to follow you. We'll put it up so they can hit you up on Instagram.
Cool.
If you guys are out in Nashville, obviously go check them out. Playing at a bunch of these newer venues, and then getting into 2024, hopefully getting your foot in the door even more. Like I said before, if you guys are watching on YouTube, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Leave any comments that you might have for Bill, any guests that you do want to see in these next couple episodes here. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, hit us with a follow. Leave us that 5-star review. If you like those DJ mixes, every Monday, brand new hour-long DJ mixes from DJs all over the world. So tune into those on Mixcloud, Apple Podcast, and SoundCloud. Follow me at DJ Dex MKE, and until next week, we are out of here. Peace.
Peace.
Check. Mic check. 1, 2.
Yo, is this thing on or what?